They said it runs in your blood, that your story would be no different, that the pain, the betrayal, the poverty, the silence would keep echoing through you just like it did to the ones before you. But they didn't know one thing. God had already begun his work, and he's not in the business of repetition. He's in the business of redemption. This is not just a message. It's a spiritual awakening, because the chains you were born into are being shattered. The curses you never chose are being lifted, and the cycles that once held you captive, God is breaking them right now, because he says, I am the God who rewrites legacies. It began, as it always does, in silence. A quiet home, a broken father, a mother with tired eyes and a heart heavy from loving too hard and receiving too little. A daughter, just 13, watching it all unfold like a movie. She couldn't pause. That daughter was Amara. Amara wasn't the type to cry in front of others. She carried her strength in silence. But deep within her, something throbbed. A voice, faint and almost afraid, whispered to her soul every night, You're next. You'll live it too. You'll love wrong, hurt hard, and carry this family's grief into the next generation. The whisper came from what generations before her had lived. Abandonment, addiction, settling for less, losing dreams in the shadow of responsibility. No one in Amara's bloodline had escaped. It was like a storm passed down, not just in behavior, but in the very spirit of her family. They said her grandmother used to be vibrant, that she danced before fear found her. They said her uncle had the mind of a genius, but the bottle spoke louder than ambition. Her cousin, once hopeful, now worn out by decisions never really hers. And now it was her turn. That's what everyone thought, that she too would make promises she couldn't keep, fall for people who'd break her, and stay in places that didn't feed her soul. But God had another plan. One night, while the house echoed with shouts and slammed doors, Amara sat in the dark. Her little brother slept beside her, unaware. The electricity had been cut off again. No food in the fridge. No help coming. She stared at the ceiling and felt that old whisper again. This is your life too. Learn to live small. Learn to expect less. But then, something else. A stillness. Not silence, but something deeper. The room seemed to shift, not physically, but spiritually. And then she heard it. You are the one I have chosen to break the chain. It wasn't loud. It wasn't thunderous. But it was certain, like the voice had roots in truth itself. She didn't move, didn't breathe, just listened. You are the one who will rise while they expect you to fall. You will love with wisdom. You will walk with strength. You will end what wounded them and begin what heals the rest. Tears fell silently, not from fear this time, but from a strange, overwhelming peace. That night, she didn't just sleep. She rested, for the first time in years. The next day, things were still hard, still cold, still broken. But inside Amara, everything had shifted. She began to move differently, speak differently, not out of pride, but purpose. At school, she asked questions, stayed after class, noticed teachers who believed in her, took part-time jobs, saved in silence. People started to notice. You've changed, they said. You're acting different. She smiled. They didn't know. She wasn't acting. She was evolving. And then came the first true test. At 18, just before college applications were due, her father relapsed. A violent fight broke out. The police came. Her mother screamed. Her little brother cried. The entire neighborhood watched. Everything in her wanted to crumble, to say, this is what I feared. This is what always happens. I can't escape it. But that night, again in the silence, God whispered, You are not them. You are not this. You are mine. So she packed her things, not to run, but to build. She sent in applications, got a scholarship, chose a school no one from her family had ever dared to apply to, and she left the house of trauma, not with hate, but with healing in her hands. But freedom is never handed over easily. Cycles don't break without resistance. College was tough. She was broke. She missed her brother. Some days, the guilt almost pulled her back. But every night, she prayed, And every night, God reminded her, keep walking. I am doing something through you that they will thank you for one day. Then came the temptation, the kind that looked familiar. A boy, beautiful smile, smooth lies. He reminded her of someone from her past, someone who once promised her mother forever and gave her nothing but scars. Amara hesitated. He seemed perfect, said all the right things. But something inside her, stronger than before, rose up and said, not this time. She walked away. She cried that night, not because she lost love, but because she chose legacy over loneliness. Years passed. She graduated, got a job, sent money home, helped her brother enroll in school. Her mother slowly began to smile again. Even her father, after rehab, began to attend church, shaking and unsure, but trying. One evening, while sitting on her balcony, Amara received a message. Her cousin, once lost bad choices, had gotten clean, wanted to start a small business, said it was watching her that gave him hope. And Amara cried again, but this time from thankfulness, because now she understood she hadn't just broken a cycle, she'd rewritten an entire story. If you're hearing this message today, it's not by accident. The cycle that's tried to swallow you, be it poverty, heartbreak, addiction, abandonment, shame, is not your identity. It may have touched you, but it does not define you. God is saying, I am stepping into your story. I am the one who parts seas, heals wounds, and revives dreams. I am not just with you. I'm going before you. I am breaking cycles that held you back. Like Amara, you don't need applause to validate your purpose. You don't need perfection to start. All you need is willingness, a yes in your spirit, a whisper that says, maybe I was born to end what began before me. You were never meant to repeat the pain. You were meant to redeem it. This is your time. This is your moment. Because God doesn't just heal individuals. He heals generations through them. And He chose you. You thought it ended when you walked away, when you cut ties with pain and left the past behind. But that was only the beginning. Because when God breaks a cycle, He doesn't just end the suffering. He replaces it with legacy, with abundance, with purpose that echoes far beyond your life. This is the story of what happens after the breakthrough. When the person they counted out becomes the one the world looks up to. When the chain breaker becomes a builder of nations. God says, I didn't just bring you out. I'm about to raise you up. Years passed, and Amara's life changed like the seasons. But while some saw only the fruit of her success, her degrees, her nonprofit, her growing platform, few understood the roots beneath it all. The silent prayers, the sacrifices no one applauded, the private battles that nearly broke her. But every time she was tempted to fall back, God reminded her, you didn't come this far just to come this far. Her nonprofit, New Heritage, started as a whisper of a dream, just a few laptops in a cramped rented room, teaching kids from broken homes how to believe again, to code, to write, to speak, to break their own chains. She poured everything into it, her savings, her energy, her heart, and the world began to notice. One article turned into a feature. One feature turned into a national grant, then an invitation to speak, then another. She stood before crowds now, her voice steady, her eyes full of fire. But when people asked her secret, she didn't point to her strategies. She pointed to her scars. I am standing here, she'd say, because I bled to what was supposed to kill me. And then came the phone call. It was late. Her little brother, now grown, called with hesitation in his voice. Their father was in the hospital. The relapse, the guilt, the years of silent war. It had all taken its toll. Amara didn't hesitate. She packed a bag, got in the car, and drove back to the city she'd once escaped from, not as a broken girl, but as a healed woman. The hospital was dim, cold. Her father lay unconscious, machines breathing for him. Her mother sat beside him, aged but hopeful. Her eyes met Amara's, and for the first time in years, they didn't hold pain. They held pride. When her father woke hours later, he cried. He whispered, I thought I'd lost you. Amara held his hand and replied softly, You did lose me, but God found me. That moment was quiet, but spiritual. Years of anger, fear, shame, melting in one breath of forgiveness. Because that's what cycle breakers do. They don't just escape the fire. They go back and rescue others from it. Over the next few weeks, she visited daily, read scriptures by his bedside, prayed when he couldn't, and slowly, the man who once destroyed became a man desperate to rebuild. He would never be perfect. But grace was never about perfection. It was about transformation. Meanwhile, something unexpected was happening. Her speeches started reaching people across the globe. Stories of children building apps in broken neighborhoods. Single mothers learning how to launch businesses. Addicts who turned mentors. And then came an invitation she never saw coming. The United Nations, a global summit on intergenerational trauma and healing. They didn't just want a speaker. They wanted a story. Amara stood there, before world leaders, scholars, media, wearing the same bracelet her mother once gave her. A broken charm now restored. She told her story. The cycles, the nights of hunger, the voice of God, the moment she walked away, and the reason she came back. When she finished, the room was silent, not because they didn't care, but because they'd never heard healing spoken with such power. That night, her inbox flooded. Offers, opportunities, donations, but she didn't let it distract her. She remembered the whispered promise. You will rise while they expect you to fall. You will end what wounded them and begin what heals the rest. So she went back home again, not just to visit, but to rebuild. She bought the house they once rented and turned it into a women's shelter. Her old school? She funded a mentorship program. The empty store on the corner where crime used to thrive? Now a coffee shop run by local teens. And the girl who once sat alone in the dark now became light for an entire community. You see, when God says, I am breaking cycles that held you back, He doesn't stop at your freedom. He moves through you, to your family, your bloodline, your city, your future. You become the interruption, the divine pause, the sacred resistance that says, it stops with me. Maybe your story looks like Amara's, or maybe yours is still in the shadows, waiting to be written. But hear this, you are not cursed. You are called. You are not forgotten. You are foretold. And the pain you inherited, it ends with you because God didn't choose the loudest. He chose the willing, the humble, the ones who look at their broken past and say, even this can be rebuilt. So if you're tired, if you're weeping, if you're staring at your life wondering if it's too late, too far gone, too broken, this message is yours. God says, I am doing a new thing. I am cutting every tie that kept you bound. I am lifting the weight of generational sorrow. And I am making you the beginning of blessing. Your life is not just about you. It's about the ones who will never meet your pain because you chose to fight it. It's about the children who will dance freely because you walked through fire. It's about your last name becoming a testimony instead of a warning. So walk boldly, speak loudly, love bravely, and remember, every chain you break becomes a bridge someone else will walk across. This is your divine assignment. This is your holy rebellion, because you were born to break the cycle. And with God, you already have.